Adapted from archaic translation by H.T. Francis and Ra. Neil. Jataka number 343. Kuntani Jataka. Long I held, etc. This story was told by the master at Jetavana Monastery, concerning a heron that lived in the house of the king of Kosala. She carried messages, they say, for the king, and had 2 young ones. The king sent this bird with a letter to some other king. When she was gone away, the boys in the royal family squeezed the young birds to death in their hands. The mother bird came back and, missing her young ones, asked who had killed her offspring. They said, so and so. And at this time there was a fierce and savage tiger kept in the palace, fastened by a strong chain. Now these boys came to see the tiger, and the heron went with them. Thinking, even as my young ones were killed by them, just so will I deal with these boys, and she took hold of them and threw them down at the foot of the tiger. The tiger with a growl crunched him up. The bird said, now is the wish of my heart fulfilled, and flying up into the air made straight for the Himalayas. On hearing what had happened, they started a discussion in the Hall of Truth, saying, sirs, a heron, it is said, in the king's palace threw down before a tiger the boys who killed her young ones, and when she had thus brought about their death, she made off. The master came and inquired what it was the brethren were discussing, and said, not now only, brethren, but formerly also did she bring about the death of those who killed her young ones. And with this he told a legend of the past. Once upon a time the bodhisattva at Benares ruled his kingdom with justice and equity. A certain heron in his house carried messages for him, and so on just as before. But the special point here is that in this case the bird, having let the tiger kill the boys, thought, I can no longer remain here. I will take my departure, but though I am going away I will not leave without telling the king. But as soon as I have told him I will be off. And so she came near and saluted the king. And standing a little way off said, my lord, it was through your carelessness that the boys killed my young ones, and under the influence of passion I in revenge caused their death. Now I can no longer live here. And uttering the first stanza she said, long I held this house as mine. Honor great I did receive. It is due to act of yours I am now compelled to leave. The king on hearing this repeated the second stanza. Should one to retaliate, wrong with equal wrong repay, then his anger should abate. So, good heron, please stay. Hearing this the bird spoke the third stanza. Wronged can with wrongdoer never as of old be made at one. Nothing, O king, can keep me here, lo. From now on I am gone. The king, on hearing this, spoke the fourth stanza. Should they wise, not foolish be, with the wronged wrongdoer may live in peace and harmony. So, good heron, please, stay. The bird said, as things are, I cannot stay, my lord, and saluting the king she flew up into the air and made straight for the Himalayas. The master, his lesson ended, thus identified the birth. The heron in the former tale was the heron in this, but the king of Benares was myself. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by H.T. Francis and Ra. Neil. Jataka number 344. Ambacora Jataka. She that did your mangoes eat, etc. This story was told by the master while at Jetavana Monastery, concerning an elder monk who kept watch over mango fruit. When he was old, they say, he became an ascetic and built him a hut of leaves in a mango orchard on the outskirts of Jetavana Monastery. And not only himself continually ate the ripe fruit that fell from the mango trees, but also gave some to his family. When he had set out on his round of alms begging, some thieves knocked down his mangoes, and ate some and went off with others. At this moment the 4 daughters of a rich merchant, after bathing in the river Asuravati, in wandering about strayed into the mango orchard. When the old man returned and found him there, he charged them with having eaten his mangoes. "Sir," they said, "we have but just come. We have not eaten your mangoes." "Then take an oath," he said. "We will, sir," they said, and took an oath. The old man, having thus put him to shame, by making them take an oath, let them go. The brethren, hearing of his action, raised a discussion in the hall of truth. How that an old man got an oath from the daughters of a merchant, who entered the mango orchard where he himself lived, and after putting them to shame by administering an oath to them, let them go. When the master came and on inquiring what was the topic they sat in council to discuss, heard what it was, he said, "Not now only, brethren, but formerly also this old man, when he kept watch over mangoes, made certain daughters of a rich merchant take an oath, and after thus putting them to shame let them go." And so saying he told a story of the past. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the bodhisattva became Sakka. At that time a dishonest ascetic built a hermitage of leaves in a mango orchard on a river bank near Benares. And keeping watch over the mangoes, ate the ripe fruit that fell from the mango trees and also gave some to his family, and lived there gaining his livelihood by various false practices. At this time Sakka, king of heaven, thought, who, I wonder, in this world of men support their parents, pay honor to the aged members of their family, give alms, keep the moral law and observe fast day. Which of them after adopting the religious life, continually devote themselves to the duties befitting priests, and which of them again are guilty of misconduct? And exploring the world he saw this wicked ascetic keeping watch over his mangoes and said, "This false ascetic, abandoning his duties as a priest, such as the process by which meditative ecstasy may be induced and the like, is continually watching a mango orchard. I will frighten him soundly." So when he was gone into the village for alms, Sakka by his supernatural power knocked down the mangoes, and made as if they had been plundered by thieves. At this moment 4 daughters of a merchant of Benares entered the orchard, and the false ascetic on seeing them stopped them and said, "You have eaten my mangoes." They said, "Sir, we have but just come. We have not eaten them." "Then take an oath," he said. "But in that case may we go?" They asked. "Certainly, you may." "Very well, sir," they said, and the eldest of them sware an oath uttering the first stanza. "She that did your mangoes eat, as her lord shall own some rustic countryman, that with dye grey hairs would cheat and his locks with tongs would curl." The ascetic said, "Stand you on one side," and he made the second daughter of the merchant take an oath, and she repeated the second stanza. "Let the maid that robbed your tree in futility for a husband sigh, past her teens, though she may be and on 30 approximate to, near." And after she had taken an oath and stood on one side, the third girl uttered the third stanza. "She that your ripe mangoes ate weary path shall walk alone, and at trysting place too late grieve to find her lover gone." When she had taken an oath and stood aside, the fourth girl uttered the fourth stanza. "She that did your tree plunder bright color dressed, with wreath on head, and moistened with sandal oil still shall seek a virgin bed." The ascetic said, "This is a serious oath you have taken. Others must have eaten the mangoes. Do you therefore now be gone?" And so saying, he sent him away. Sakka then presented himself in a terrible form, and drove away the false ascetic from the place. The master, having ended his lesson, identified the birth. At that time this false ascetic was the old man who watched mangoes. The four merchants' daughters played the same part then as now. But Saka was myself. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by H.T. Francis and Ra. Neil. Jataka number 345. Gajakumbha Jataka. Should a flame sweep, etc. This story was told by the master at Jetavana monastery, concerning a slothful brother. He was, it was said, of gentle birth and lived at Shravasti city. And after giving a hearty consent to the teaching and joining the holy order, he became slothful, and as regards practice of the righteous path, questions and answers, enlightened devotion and the round of monks' duties, he did not fully enter into them, being overcome by his obsessive sins, and was always to be found at public lounging places. The brethren discussed his sloth in the hall of truth, saying, Sichan 1, Sirs, after taking to holy order of disciples, into monkhood in so excellent a faith that leads to salvation, is continually slothful and lazy, and overcome by his obsessive sins. When the master came and inquired what the brethren were assembled to discuss, on being told what it was, he said, Not now only, brethren, but formerly too was he slothful. And so saying he told an old world tale. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the bodhisattva became his valued minister. The king of Benares was of a slothful nature, and the bodhisattva went about considering some means to stir up the king. Now one day the king went to his garden, accompanied by his minister, and while wandering about there he saw a slothful tortoise. Lazy creatures like these, they say, though they are in motion a whole day, move only just an inch or two. The king on seeing it asked, saying, Friend, what is its name? The bodhisattva answered, The creature is called a tortoise, great king, and is so lazy that though it is in motion all day, it only moves just an inch or two. And addressing it he said, Ho! Sir Tortoise, yours is a slow motion. Supposing a conflagration arose in the forest, what would you do? And with this he spoke the first stanza. Should a flame sweep through the grove, leaving blackened path behind, how, Sir Waddler, slow to move, way of safety could you find? The tortoise on hearing this repeated the second stanza. Holes on every side were many, chinks there be in every tree. Here a refuge will be found or an end of us it will be. On hearing this the bodhisattva gave utterance to two stanzas. Whosoever did hurry when he should rest, and delays long when utmost speed is best, destroys the slender fabric of his welfare, as withered leaf is crushed beneath the heel. But they who wait early nor haste too soon, fulfill their purpose, as orbits the moon. The king, hearing the words of the bodhisattva, from then on was no longer lazy. The master, having ended his lesson, identified the birth. At that time the slothful brother was the tortoise, and I myself was the wise counselor.